Coming up on the Middle Class VO podcast.
So this person was once told by country music legend Pam Tillis while introducing her at a 3-day music festival that she said, "Why don't you just follow me around all day and just talk?"
If you need e-learning, we're just an email away. Corporate narration, tell us what to say. Explainer video, imaging radio, slinging local cars, reading IVR. No, we ain't no stars. This is the Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast.
Welcome to the Middle Class VO podcast. Kevin Kilpatrick representing Nashville. Bobby in Cincinnati. Hi, Bobby.
Hey, it is VO Atlanta week, virtually as we speak. So it's been a crazy week. So as you've been listening to this, it of course will be a little bit later. But yeah, you're not doing the virtual VO Atlanta this year, right?
No, I didn't do anything in that regard because honestly, I am holding out to see people in person. I really am.
I don't blame you. It's total. I'm gonna admit it's not the same. I mean, you see the people up there on Zoom, and you can chat a little bit before the session start, but it's just not the same. There's not that ambiance, and just getting to physically hug somebody.
Yeah. Absolutely. And learning in person in front of a coach is just amazing. I've done the Skype ones, I've done the Zoom ones, and, they're great. But there's nothing like being in the same room with somebody like that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, I actually am bamboozling you today. Everything we talked about before rolling, everything we discussed is all a big ruse. Because today, I'm introducing a new segment on the Middle Class VO podcast.
Oh, no.
And that is Mystery Guest.
Should I be scared?
Do me a favor, Bobby, okay. And do not look at your screen. I don't want you to see when this person is going to be admitted to the podcast, okay?
Okay, I'm looking down. All right, I'm shaking.
So stand by 1 second.
Mystery guest. I feel it reminds me of that board game when I was little, the mystery date.
Yeah, but this is mystery guest, and so don't look at your screen, Bobby. I have admitted this person into the podcast, and I'm going to give you some clues about this person. Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Can I look at my screen yet?
No, don't look at your screen. Okay. Please don't, because I don't know how the Zoom works on that side.
I'm not. Okay, I'm looking away.
As long as you can't see the Zoom and who might be admitted into the meeting. That's the only thing I care about. So anyway.
Okay, go ahead. Give me clues.
So this person was once told by country music legend Pam Tillis while introducing her at a 3-day music festival that she said, "Why don't you just follow me around all day and just talk?" This person's VO career started at the age of 13. This person once drove over 1,500 miles to audition for a part in an animation pilot episode. This person is a huge fan of that 70s show. And this person is also a big fan of a fresh wedge salad with blue cheese crumbles. Bobby, do you have any guesses?
Male or female?
I ain't telling you nothing. I'm going to give you one more hint. Go ahead. This person was once a finalist for a broadcast position with the Pawtucket, Rhode Island Red Sox, the AAA affiliate for the Boston Red Sox. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Rob Reed.
Oh, my God.
Rob. Welcome.
I just talked to him this week. That's so
I know. Funny. He told me.
Blue cheese crumbles. Come on, that was a giveaway.
Yeah, right.
Everybody knows that interesting fact about Rob.
What was this Pam Tillis again? You said it so fast. What was it?
Apparently she probably was like, well, this guy's got a great voice. Why don't you just follow me around all day and talk? Something like that, Rob?
Yeah,
Oh, I get it.
It was very similar. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you?
It's two of my best VO buddies. I love this.
I had the idea to do this. I listened to, you guys ever listen to the Smartless podcast?
No.
It's with Sean Hayes, Will Arnett, and Jason Bateman. And the three of them are besties, basically. And that's what they do for their episodes, is every guest is a mystery guest. So I wanted to introduce that segment. So I'm giving them credit because I stole that idea. So Bobby, I've been thinking about this a while, and I'm like, this is a great week to do it. And who better to do it than with Rob Reed?
You got me. I have to say, Rob, this is so interesting because I was in an X session for VO Atlanta last night, and there was a guy who was like Rob Reed II.
Really?
Oh,
Yes. He had that same, cowboy, Sam Elliott kind of, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wish Rob could hear this guy because he's probably heard you somewhere. He's emulating you.
I once worked for a lady that was at a restaurant in Mexico. They were on vacation, and there was a guy at a table behind them that reminded her. She said it could have been my voice twin, so she recorded him on her phone to play it to me. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Wow. That's new competition on the horizon. That's great.
Or not so great.
Before we get too far into this, guys, though, let me do a little refresh, a little reset here. We're all radio folks, and so we know what a reset is. We've got to introduce Rob. Rob has been on the podcast. Rob is a working voice actor and has been doing it for quite some time now. Rob had a great career in radio and in some ways has his hand in radio with radio imaging and consulting projects, I think, too, a little bit here and there and other stuff. And actually, Rob is going to share a story, Bobby, about what I was talking about earlier, about auditions and the pitfalls of getting too invested in a particular audition. We're all going to share those stories today. We are going to do that.
Ooh, I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly. So Rob, welcome aboard. Thanks for doing this with us.
No, thank you. It's always a pleasure. I had such a blast the first time I thought, well, I hope they ask me back, but it probably was not good enough to make the final cut. But here I am. This is amazing. Who said second chances don't happen?
Is he our first second timer? Sounds weird.
That's impossible.
Yeah, that's like a little Amazing Rhythmaces song right there, I think. How about that reference? That's digging deep. But no, we had J.J. Wilson on.
Yeah, that's right.
But Rob is our second guest.
Second timer.
Something like that. And also, we're going to get from Rob a nightmare sessions, because last time we surprised him with the cold read challenge, and he nailed it, of course. You'll have to check out that episode. You just won't believe the words that were coming out of Rob's mouth. But it was all legit. But this time around, we are going to get Rob on a nightmare session story where he talks about a session that couldn't have gone maybe more wrong. So, Rob, if by the way, it is just for perspective, we are recording this at the end of the work week. So Bobby, it's well past 5 o'clock your time. It's approaching that here in the Central Time Zone. So Rob,
yes,
am having a little sniff of the Four Roses.
I know he has a cocktail in his hand. I know it.
Who, Rob or me?
Rob. And you, probably. Oh,
guilty.
My drunk buddies.
Well, end of a long work week, and thank goodness it was a long work week. And I had a lot of stress this week that I'm going to kind of share a story with you guys about. Well, you guys know. I've told both of you, but with our podcast friends. But Rob, I would like to start with you. We talked about on the last episode, Bobby and I, we talked about auditioning and things that you can do to get better. We got such great feedback on that episode. There's so many other things to unpack with regards to auditioning. One of them is the pitfalls of getting too invested in an audition. And you shared with me, Rob, a unique story that can apply. It's voiceover related, but it can apply to voiceover too. Would you tell us about the opportunity you had with the Pawtucket Red Sox?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I had got in touch with a sports agent who I don't know if I should mention his name or not, but
Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, when we all think of sports agents, what comes to mind, right? Jerry Maguire.
Show me the money.
Yeah, show me the money. So this guy's name was Mike Maguire, and he was actually representing another friend of mine who had air checks that she needed digitized. And so I helped her out, which led me to meeting this guy who said he was an agent that represented, sports broadcasters. So as we're on the phone, he made a comment about my voice and asked me if I did any sports. And I said, well, sure, yeah. About 25 years of, play-by-play in various sports. And so I sent him my stuff, and we sent a demo off to the Paw Sox, as they're called, in Rhode Island. And I mean, I'd been doing high school and college ball, maybe a half a season of lower-level minor league baseball back in the day, like 97 or 98. So it'd been a while. And then I made like the semifinal list, and then I made the final list, and it was all I could. As I told you earlier this week, Kevin, it was all I could do. I was sick to my stomach all the time. It was churning. It's all I could think about, and of course, I hadn't gotten to the world of voiceover where you send it and forget it. The general rule on auditions. Yeah. It ruled my life. And then there was a blizzard that year. It was the winter of 2013, so there was a blizzard in New England that delayed their decision. So it drug on, and it drug on. And on Facebook, they actually posted a picture of all of the CDs that were on the general manager's desk of all of these broadcasters that wanted to be play-by-play announcer for the Paw Sox, and I saw my CD on the desk, and so that made it even worse.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I had no business being in the semifinals, and then so the semifinals you're too kind. The semifinals included 25 applicants. There were over 200 for the job, I think, as I recall, and so then I made the finals. And somehow I called the agent at one point, and I said, hey, do I have a shot at this, really? And he said, have you heard from them? And I said, no. And he said, well, if they haven't called you, because they call every single candidate to tell them whether or not they're still in the running, or if they want to schedule an interview. And so I made it all the way to the finals. I didn't get an interview, but it ruled my life. So you think about spring training, the pitchers and catchers report in February, right? Mm-hmm. So that year, I mean, this went down to the wire. It was like the week before pitchers and catchers report to spring training. And so, yeah, I mean, I was way too invested in that deal. And I think about that anytime I audition these days in voiceover for a something that I really want bad. I do my best not to think about it that same way, but that was a lot of fun, and it would have been great, but wasn't meant to be.
How did you find out?
They called me. The general manager of the baseball team. Well, he didn't call. He emailed me and said, he was very impressed with my body of work. But they were going a different direction at the time, and then come to find out, one of the guys that was still on staff got hired by the Seattle Mariners, and so there were two openings. So the guys that they hired would later become the voice of the New England Patriots football, and the other guy became the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers after their stay in Pawtucket.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was
stiff competition, I guess.
Another level of competition for sure, yeah.
So close.
And that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
I mean, in our business, in voiceover as well, it's like we think we crushed an audition, but look, the one they hired was a different level. And it could have been just nailing that one performance, or, it could have been a level of talent and experience too.
Sure. Yeah.
What about you, Bobby? We were talking about this a while ago before I bamboozled you with Rob. Did you think of anything in regards to being too invested in an audition at any point in time?
I don't know so much about an audition, but I thought of a couple of things that I really, really wanted it and gave it my best shot, and was so disappointed when, you get that call or you get that email. And both of them happened pre-pandemic. Getting an LA agent. I went out to LA and I read for one agency, and the interview went great, and they said, we're going to be making decisions very, very soon. And, it was just like 2 weeks later, and I got that email saying, you know what, we're tapped out. You were one of the last interviews. Please try again, in 6 months. And then I did it to a second agent, one of the top agents out there, and someone made a referral, and I thought things were looking good, and once again it fell through. And it's just like, you get so pumped up, and then it just like drops out, and then you have that imposter syndrome thing going on. But you just, like you were saying before, you do it, you forget it, and you try it again. But as far as an audition, I literally got something and then it was taken away from me, which can happen if, maybe that's why contracts are so big. But
I've had one of those. That's why I'm chuckling.
Yeah. And it was a national ad for the Biden campaign. And you know how much I love doing political. And it was a great year last year, thank goodness. But I got hired actually through pay to play for a national Biden campaign, which just shocked me. And he said, we want to hire you. And I cut the spot. We were literally in a Source Connect session. He says, we got everything we need here. And I reached out to him after not hearing from him for a couple of weeks and said, hey, I need to know where to send my invoice. I'd love to get a copy of it. Obviously, we all want to do that. And he goes, oh, Bobby, we also recorded a guy, and they decided to go with a guy on this. And I was like, I know. And he goes, we will pay you a session fee, which was nothing. But it's like taking candy from a baby.
Man, I booked Bobby a similar story. I booked a session. It was for a corporate video, but it was a decently paid corporate video, so it was nice to get. And the session's booked. It's Source Connect, and I go back and reference my audition. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know why they like the old Kev, man. This is solid. This is good. So I get ready for the session, and I get dialed in, and the guy's, really nice. And I said, I think it was like a 90-second corporate video. And I said, how about I run this down for you, and you just tell me what you like, And then I run it down, and he comes back on the line. He goes, Kev, can you hold on just a second?
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I wait and I wait and I wait. And all of a sudden, something like the connection goes weird or something. And about that time, I get a call from my manager at the time. And he goes, Kev, yeah, sorry, they accidentally put the wrong name down for the booking, but you are going to get a session fee out of this.
I remember you told me about that.
I'm like, but I crushed it. I nailed it.
This guy, he can see this guy. He's going, how do I handle this?
Yeah, and he just bailed.
He bailed. Wussy.
It was kind of like, hold on, and then they were gone. And I'm, what happened? Like, Source Connect,
VOMG.
I'll piggyback on that about something that happened recently, and you guys both know, Bobby, is known since March But I saw an opportunity to audition for the Tennessee Titans football team to be the public address announcer on Sundays for their home games.
So cool.
And I thought,
Nice.
oh my gosh, I am hugely qualified for something like this with my radio background, my sports broadcasting background, and, my voice acting work and anything.
And you play ball. Yeah.
And I play ball and, in Magnolia, Arkansas, I was all conference honorable mention. I don't know if I've told you guys that. It made the Magnolia Banner News at the time. So there's that. But anyway, so
Deborah told me you still have that trophy in your bedroom. Is that true?
Oh, I do. I keep it to remind myself of how awesome I once was. But so I submit, and I'm submitting with all the confidence in the world because I sent them a voiceover demo sample that was because one of the things they would require of you is to be able to do voiceover from home. And I'm like, got that, crushing that. Sports background, nailed it. And, just the radio broadcasting stuff. I've been on stage in front of thousands of people at a time, and whipped crowds into frenzy and all that radio stuff that you do. And I felt really qualified. So I submit my stuff and I'm just waiting for the offer. Almost.
Yep.
And then I get an email that says, Kevin, we were very pleased to see your submission. We're going to have live auditions, coming up in the middle of April or whatever it was. And I'm like, great. I didn't expect anything less. And I know this is going to sound so cocky, but this is how, well qualified I feel I am for this. So I, get the notice. Congratulations, you're a semifinalist. You're in the last 20. We've had hundreds of auditions or hundreds of submissions. You're among the last 20. And I'm like, I know I am. I know, that's terrible though. But you guys tell me, don't you think that's the way you have to feel about these kinds of opportunities?
Sure.
Okay. Because I know I'm sounding like an a-hole, but that's how good I felt about it, guys. So so I am in knots, stomach in knots for weeks until I get the notice that, hey, you are in fact auditioning. Your audition time is Monday night, April 12th, whatever it was, at 7:40. I get there an hour ahead of time. Thank goodness I do, because there's 6 pages of script. I've been practicing all around in my booth, in the car, in the truck, in the shower, everywhere. and I've researched the crap out of these people, all the powers that be, so I know them and so I'm familiar with them and all this stuff. I do my homework. I do a crap ton of research on PA announcing. And I honestly get to the audition and I feel like I gave it my best and I did my best. I feel like I did as best I could. And I'm like, and they liked me. And some of the comments that I heard, I made them laugh.
Because you get to meet the judges
me
afterwards, right?
Yeah, the judges, and they had a celebrity judge, Mandisa, who was a finalist or one of the finalists on American Idol, season 5, I think. But anyway, she's very well known around Nashville and very well known that she's a big Titan. She's a Titan super fan and all this kind of stuff. So she was one of the judges, and there's 4 other judges. And I knew 3 out of the 5. Anyway, great exit interview, all that good stuff. And I'm waiting to hear the call that I've made it to the top 5. And the call comes, and I'm excited. And I start hearing this tone like the rejection. You hear it. And you're like, and I'm like, and he's about to say unfortunate. And he says, unfortunately, you aren't one of them. And he said, that we could actually see using you in some other capacities. And I'm like, well, there's that. But he was kind. But it was, man, you talk about disappointed. And you guys, the Pawtucket Red Sox, and Bobby, you with the agent. It had to have been a very similar thing. And, it happened earlier this week. And it took me about 2 good days to go, Kev, knock it off. You are so blessed. You have so many great things in your life. And it was just a refocus on my voiceover career too.
One door closes, another opens. It's going to happen in some way. Yeah.
That's Scatworthy.
What else about auditions? What can we think about are some of the things that we're making casual mistakes? One of those is, the pitfalls of getting too invested. But, in this VO world, Rob said it earlier, we got to send it and forget it. What are some of the other pitfalls? One of mine is not taking enough time to really get to know the copy. What about you guys?
Sometimes it's taken too much time to get to know the copy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see that as well. And you start getting in these cadences and these patterns where you're sounding the same every single time.
Yeah. And I get in my head when I look at the copy. And I actually took a session this week at VO Atlanta about getting out of your head. And I wrote down a lot of notes because I think they're really going to help. But you overanalyze things and you think you know what they want. And then when they throw in the celebrity, who they want you to sound.
Those references.
Yeah, the references. And you're thinking, oh gosh, I got to sound like, whoever. And that's not what they want, but that's in your head. And then there's just too much up there. And
yeah, I think sometimes you can, to what I mentioned earlier about maybe spending too much time on the copy lots of times. I've heard some coaches and casting directors say this too, that lots of times your first read through is spot on. Mm-hmm. Because you're not thinking about it. It's your natural instincts on the character or whatever that might be. But you're right. When there's a celebrity reference, I think, at least for me, I'm like, okay. Oh, then I listen back and I'm like, I don't sound at all like J.K. Elliott right there. Not at
all. Do both of you guys start rolling even before you've read the copy?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, same here.
I've got a bad habit of that, just starting to record and then just kind of going over the copy the first time. I think my mindset in that is like, well, what if I capture, magic in a bottle there, But then I'm like, well, that's garbage. You're stumbling and you don't even know what you're saying. So that's one of the pitfalls for me.
But sometimes that's a good thing. And on the remark about the references, I think I wish I could give credit to whoever told me this not too long ago. But they said, give yourself permission to do a bad impression of somebody. You know what I mean? So like, have you ever been working on an audition and you go, what comes to mind is John O'Hurley as Jay Peterman from Seinfeld. I think I'm going to try to do that.
Sophisticated yet different without making a huge fuss about it.
And then when you hear it, it's so bad that you don't want to do anything with it. Well, the casting directors or whoever's going to be listening to the audition, we hope,
right?
They don't know you're trying to do Jay Peterman from Seinfeld. So this person, and again, I wish I could remember who told me that, but to give yourself permission to do a bad impression, sometimes that's a blessing in disguise, maybe.
That's interesting. That is a unique take on that.
What about age specs? Do you pretty much follow what you think you're capable of, or do you try to squeeze in a younger demo or an older demo?
And I had this conversation with a coach not very long ago, and it wasn't regarding that. It was more regarding being an all-encompassing, if they're looking for all races, right? And lots of times I will say, okay, I'm the old white guy. There's no way I would ever land that. I'm not even going to read for it.
Yeah.
And she said, why are you doing that to yourself? Why are you pre-qualifying? And I think in some instances that works with age also, but not always. But I'm like that, Bobby. For me, I don't know about Kevin, but when I find something that says a guy in their mid-30s even, that's 20 years younger than I am, I don't even try lots of times.
I always go for 30s.
And that may be wrong. That may be entirely the wrong angle.
Did both of you have this deep voice in your early 30s that it's believable?
Okay, Bobby, in this room, I don't have a deep voice.
Mine changed at 12. It got deep at 12 years old. Yeah.
Your mom was
Hey,
like,
Mom, are we going to the roller skating rink? Just happened all at once.
I have something to say, but I just can't say it on the show.
You're like the guy from the Oak Ridge Boys. Papa, mow, mow.
12. That cracks me up.
But remarkably, most of the stuff that I book is not in that voice. And it's not about voice. So I don't really ever think about it. It's more, it's more of the acting side of it.
character.
But yeah.
What is it? Are you
That's
do?
funny.
Where do you find, Rob? What is a pattern that you do see with your bookings?
A penny for your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, for so long, coming from a background in radio, there was always this projection. And I think once I learned to not project and let my microphone do its work, I think that was like when the light came on, or at least when things started happening differently for me. And lots of times when friends would see things that I had posted online or that I shared, they were like, that's not you.
I love that.
Yeah. But again, I don't think it's about the voice at all.
Right.
No, but with regards for you, because everybody's hearing you and they're like, wow, this guy's got a great voice, lots of resonance. And there's a unique, Texas kind of vibe there as well. But as far as your bookings go, to give you an example, like over the last year or so, I seem to have booked, some stuff where there was some improv involved, or the really fun, goofy kind of thing. So, what about your bookings? Have you seen any kind of patterns in that regard with types?
Oh yeah, especially in the last year or two, everything is very dramatic and filled with emotion, and it's not the kind of guy that I really am. I mean, I'm kind of lighthearted and have a lot of fun, and a lot of the stuff that I'm booking these days is really heavy-handed and emotional. So
Okay.
I mean, some of it.
So you're acting.
Yeah, how about that?
How about that? Exactly.
Look at me, Ma.
What about you, Kev?
Yeah, you.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say was, like some of the stuff where I was able to improv and ad-lib and just kind of go like this or go like this. Hey, how's it going? Just where I can go up and down and show kind of my, a little bit of my goofiness. I've seen some stuff where I've, gotten some footing in bookings in that regard. And
Bobby?
Smoky and sultry, right? Smoky and sultry.
No, I don't book that. I book so much healthcare stuff lately. It's COVID, of course brought that out, but I just got off a session before we got on here, and it was a doctor who is OBGYN doctor, and they just wanted me to talk about, hey, if I, I gave birth to my child here, so I've been there. I understand. So it's that compassionate, trusting,
Warm.
confident mom roles too. I mean, it's pretty close to my personality. I'd love to book something just totally different and fun.
Yeah, like a bad Sandy
Sandy.
from Greece.
I don't think Rob knows that story, does he?
No, I don't know that story, but it's funny. Bad
That was in a
Sandy.
session. This guy told me to be a bad Sandy.
Wow.
And I think
But
How
I
did
get
you-
that because
how did you
Bobby's
respond to
personality
that?
is such.
I thought it was hilarious.
How did Bobby go to Bad Sandy?
I started off with some expletive. I can't even remember at this point, but he's like, yeah, it's bad Sandy.
Oh, that's great. Well, so this kind of wraps up. That puts a bow on kind of the audition talk and, avoiding some pitfalls and watching for those patterns of success and making sure that you're reading for all of those types that come across your inbox. before we go, Rob, would you please favor us with a story of a session that may not could have gone more wrong, and we call this segment Nightmare Sessions.
Nightmare Sessions.
Yeah, and I won't mention any names. I was in a session for I believe it was a plumbing and heating service related contractor business. And the client, so I'm on with the client and the producer at the same time, and the client it's the second time that week that we had recorded for a different client this time, but still in the same industry, and he's 20 minutes late to the session. First of all,
Wow.
which was highly disrespectable, I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
And then on top of that, when we got to the end of the session and I said goodbye, the producer didn't disconnect me.
Oh, no. They're about to talk about you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You're
no.
kidding.
And it was not good.
What did they say?
It was not good at all. But they apparently they did end up using it because I did get paid for the session, and it was a 10-second tag or maybe a 15-second spot. I can't remember for sure. But at the end, the guy was like, "Wow, well, I don't feel like that was very effective." And the producer, and so what do you do as a talent at that point was a good question.
I'm here.
Right?
You should say, should I disconnect now, guys?
Right, that's what I should have done. Yeah.
How do you really feel, dude?
Yeah. He said, I could have gone to the radio station to find a guy that would have had that read.
Oh, that's awful.
Well, it was really at the time, and I'll be completely honest, it was very, very difficult for me to go, well, how about bringing some decent copy to the session?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
You know what I mean? So, but I immediately, it destroyed my entire week.
I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And so, I mean, I call my mentor and I call my coach and I'm like, what do I do? And they said, well, first of all, you weren't supposed to hear that. So just act like you didn't hear it. But I did hear it. So,
Yeah.
you know, that was for me, my biggest nightmare session that I've ever had. It was awful.
I can see. Yeah, that's
But you got
demoralizing.
paid, so that's the good thing.
I did get
Yeah.
paid. Well, it took 90 days, but I did get paid. And you know, I was hoping that at some point that would continue to be an ongoing deal because the guy handled a lot of the stuff that I felt like I was right for at the time. So it was very dejecting. And, you know, it took me a little while to get over it, but it happened. And that's my, my nightmare story.
Now, I feel like I'm going to know the answer to this because I feel like, Rob, that you are a fairly competitive person. Did that light a little fire under you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It lit a fire, but it also really put a lot of doubt in my head for a while. I mean, it screwed me up bad for quite a while. And you shouldn't let that happen because it's always subjective. It's just like if you're auditioning for something and you've got, 10 different people that are going to listen to your audition, every single one of those 10 is going to have a completely different take on what you gave or what you created. So I think, at least for me, that was, but you're right. It did light a fire.
Well, we're glad you're still here,
Yeah.
man, in the
Yeah.
voiceover world. You're extremely talented, man, and I've heard some of your stuff lately that you've been posting on social media, and it's phenomenal work, man, and I'm so happy to know you and so happy that you were on the podcast today.
No, it was my pleasure. I was so excited when we were talking just with a little catch-up. We hadn't talked since the new year, and when you asked me to come on, I was like, oh, I'd love to do that.
What a great surprise. I'm so glad you guys did this.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be my husband, Kevin. It's like, please don't put him on there.
Is he a fan of the wedge salad with blue cheese crumbles? Oh, man. Well, Rob, thanks again. Rob, what's your website? So if anybody wants to get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's robreedvo.com.
Excellent. You can see a lot of Rob's work, and he'll have booking questions answered right there, and you can reach out to him right there. Bobby, hey, how about those Reds?
Thanks. You just blew my
Hey, they're doing better than my Cardinals right now, so.
They've had a bad streak. It's okay. It's okay. It's early.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and Rob Reed, thank you once again, and we shall be talking to you soon, okay?
All right.
catching up,
I
guys.
appreciate y'all. Thank you so much.
Bye.
The Middle Class VO Podcast is a K2 Media Productions production.
All views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests. The MCVOP jingle was written and produced by Kevin.
Co-produced and performed by Chloe Dolandis.
Additional engineering by 𝙤𝙧𝙤𝙤𝙤.
Bobby's hair and makeup by Rebecca Adlita.
Kevin's wardrobe by Slippery Pete's Fashion Emporium.
All previous episodes are available for download on Podbean.
For the Middle Class VO Podcast, I'm Tracy Thibodeau.
I'm Lisa Lou Perry.
Thanks for listening.
And don't miss the next episode of
The Middle Class VO Podcast. The Middle Class VO Podcast.